So the BMW 8 series is one of the special BMWs to me because you haven't really seen anything like it after it, and we didn't really see anything like it before it either. So what I want to do today is take the original 8 series, not the one we have today, and I want to modernize it to see what it could look like today, because today's 8 series, it's not as original as the original. I think we can all agree on that. The original had these pop-up headlights, a front that we'd never seen before, very narrow, very pointy looking front end, and very small kidneys in the front compared to today's BMWs, for example. However, I want to take some inspiration from today's BMWs, for example the M3 and the M4, because in those cars we have a lot going on in the front, and specifically the front spoiler. So I want to have some sort of similarities to today's design, maybe add some air intakes here because we have that on the M4 and the M3, and then have some sort of resemblance to the traditional M lower part of the spoiler as well on the intakes. Pixie, I'm sorry, you can't be up here right now. This is Pixie, by the way. She's about to be adopted. Say hi to YouTube, Pixie. Hi YouTube, how are you? And of course I want to redesign the proportions of the car, because these proportions are very 80s and 90s. And what do I mean by that? How can proportions be tied to a era in time or a decade? Well, that's pretty simple, because if you look at today's BMWs and more sports cars, you look at this side right here. Here almost you have 50% body and 50% window right here. So I want to change this to be more like typical cars today, where you have almost 30-70 or 35-65%. So we need to make the window, the greenhouse, a little smaller than what it is right here, but still keeping the same kind of height of the car, because we still need to fit regular sized human beings in there. So we need to play around with the dimensions of the side. That means also play around with the shoulder line here. So I love the shoulder line of the 8 series. It's a very clean one, and I love that it dips into this shark nose in the front here. That's obviously something we need to translate into a modern car. Let's talk about the intakes right here, the kidneys. They need to be a little bit wider than we have here. So maybe stop at some point right here. Now we have a problem when we do this, because if you look at the hood, the creases in the hood stretches to the corners of these kidneys. So these lines in the hood, they go from the kidneys in the front all the way up to the windshield. As you can see right here, these needs to be widened. If we widen the grille and we widen the kidneys, we need to have these lines start somewhere around here and go up to that point instead. Wheels, I love these original wheels, but they're obviously not gonna fit a modern version of the 8 series. So I'm gonna import some wheels from a current performance BMW and slap them on here, make them suit the overall color balance of this image as well. So that's about it. So let's jump in here and let's redesign the 8 series and make it into a modern version of the original. It's not gonna have pop-up headlights, too bad, because that's illegal these days. I want it to be an illegal version of the original, so that means that we need to figure out something else. Let's continue in Photoshop and let's see how this is going to turn out. The BMW 8 series is a range of Grand Tourer coupes and convertibles produced by BMW, and as you all know, the first generation, the E31, was only available as a two-door coupe. It was powered by either a natural aspirated V8 or a V12. Even though the E31 8 series is not really a direct successor to the E24 6 series, it did start its life and production right as the E6 series E24 was phased out of production. However, the E31 8 series was discontinued in 1999 due to poor sales. Now, the design work of the E31 began in 1984, with the final design being presented in 1986, and the car was introduced at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 1989 and was produced up until 99. The 8 series was designed to move beyond the market for the original E24 6 series with better performance and also an increase in price. The 8 series was also the first road car to ever offer a V12 engine mated to a 6-speed manual transmission, which I think is one of the coolest cars ever produced, not just by BMW, but in general in the 840i. Now, my idea when I redesigned this or modernized the original E31 8 series here is to mix old with the new. I want to have as I usually want with my redesigns. I don't want to create a brand new car from scratch. I want to work on the proportions of the original 8 Series. I think these proportions are so special for this specific car, so I want people to recognize it as an unmistakably E31 8 Series, but with some modern design, and I want it to look like it could be manufactured today by BMW. That means that we need to introduce some lines and features into the design and also the proportions. So there are several steps to this redesign. There is the graphical aspect. We need to work on the graphics to bring them up to date, and by graphics I mean the headlights, the taillights, and the creases and stuff, that the styling parts of the car, the front bumper and so on. We need to bring those into modern times. And we also need to work on the proportions of the car, because the proportions make it look like an 80s car. It's just that simple. We can't have these proportions if we want to bring it into a modern car and make it a 2021 8 Series. I want you also to disregard the current 8 Series. To me, it looks more like a Mustang than the original 8 Series. It's not a... I don't think the new 8 Series is a beautiful looking car. It has too much going on for it, and I don't like the rear end because of the sloping fastback design that makes it look almost identical as a Mustang, and I've made a video on that as well, showing you side by side just how similar those two cars are. If you strip away all the graphics of the cars, you're gonna see that they are essentially the same car in proportions and everything. So that's why I want to keep these true V12 GT cruiser proportions that we have on the E31. It's a beast of a car, and it's super powerful, but it also has this elegance in it. It's very simple in its lines, but at the same time I want to take inspiration from the M3 and M4, the brand new ones. For example, the new M3, I think that suits the overall design language that BMW has going for it right now, because it has more styling features in the body of the car that kind of connects to the massive front end, which is very, very busy in both the M4 and M3. But in the M3, it makes a little more sense because you have some sort of other creases in the body and the rear of the car that connects to the front end. I think that's lacking in the M4. Also, I made a video on this if you want to go and check that out for all the details of what exactly I'm talking about here. But I want to take some inspiration from the M3. So we have this crease in the side of the car in the M3, which I really like. It looks a little bit weird because it looks like the rear fender is squeezed, since the rear fenders of the M3 is wider than the normal 3 Series, and you also it looks like they use the same rear passenger door straight from a 3 Series, so the door itself is not wider. And if you look at the new M3, you're gonna see this very tense crease right in the rear fender that doesn't really flow into the door as well as I think it could have. So, but I want to take that line that we have that creates this crease and apply it to this massive two-door coupe, which is the 8 Series modernization here, and just see how that looks. I think it can look great if we come down from the C-pillar, and then the line from the C-pillar, the kink in the C-pillar goes down into the body, and then down in the rocker, and then connects to the front part of the bumper as well. So we have some sort of line flow going on there. And for the front, I want to have some inspiration there as well from the M3. We have these intakes on the side of the front end of the M3 that connects to the headlights, and we can have something similar here. What I don't want to change is the identity of the face of the 8 Series. As I said in the intro, we can't have pop-up headlights anymore because it's illegal, and I want to make this sort of, it could be a legal version of a brand new 8 Series. Of course, there's a lot more that goes into that with regulations, and so I think these headlights sit probably too low for any road-going car. You need to have them sit a little bit higher, but I don't care about that. I'm not an engineer. I just have fun in Photoshop and upload my designs to YouTube. So what I'm gonna do is just keep the front fascia of this car as intact as possible. However, we need to tweak the front end, the kidneys just a little bit to make them a little wider and maybe a little taller as well. But we can have some i8 inspired headlights, for example. I think that could work on this design. And since we're widening the nostrils, so the kidneys of the new 8 Series here, that means that we need to work on the mold, the folding and the molding of the hood as well. So we need to have those creases connect to the corner parts of the kidneys, and since the kidneys are wider, that means that we need to widen those as well, and that is also going to be one of these small detail touches that are going to bring this car into modern times when it comes to BMW hoods, for example. Now, talking about the shoulder line here, as I said in the intro as well, we need to work on the proportions, lower the greenhouse a little bit while we raise up the belt line or the shoulder line. We raise it up just a little bit to get that 35-65 proportions between the greenhouse and the body mass of the car. If you look at it from a straight side view, that's gonna also bring it into modern terms when it comes to BMW proportions. When it comes to these shoulders above the wheel arches, I think those are specific for the 8 Series. I want to keep those. Maybe we can just tweak them a little bit, maybe sharpen them up a little bit, and have them connect with this new sideline that I took straight from the M3, for example, and kind of play along with that and see if that works well together. But that's overall everything I wanted to do with this redesign. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I'm the TheSketchMonkey. Thank you for watching. If you did enjoy it, make sure you hit the like button. It really means a lot to me and for the YouTube algorithm as well. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe if you like this kind of stuff. Take care, and I will see you in the next video.